This week I learned, man, I thought Dresden Files fans were passionate. They got nothing on the Turtles. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update and a happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone who does celebrate. So, very, very fun times. Yes, it is flooding here in Texas. No, we have been fortunate. We have not actually got... over by my office, it's pretty bad, and they let us work from home a couple days. But I've gotten lots of messages, so I want to thank you guys for reaching out. But no, Texas is a big state, and I have not actually been affected where I do live, but it's raining right now, so hopefully we can get through this without the power going out. But it's been an exciting week, and we are going to talk about, we're going to begin like always, guys, talk about what am I reading. Well, I finished Priest of Gallows by Peter McLean. This is book number 3 in the War for the Rose Throne, and kind of a little bit iffy on it. I liked, again, I love this world. I do. This one just kind of like took that little sidetrack into like almost like Assassin's Creed Odyssey feel, where you're like in this murder cult with, you know, brother sister names and stuff. It's almost like a fraternity, and it got kind of weird, but the series is still very, very good, and that's really a nitpick. All the things I still want to know about, I am still learning about. It has a hell of an ending, and it kind of leaves you to where you feel like, okay, maybe it was meant to be a trilogy, and this last book just got so big it was actually split. We'll see as I get further along, but I did really like it, and I'm very, very anxious to begin the 4th book, which I did. I did begin Priest of Crowns, about 100 pages into that. I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm going to be very sad when the series is over. So I already acknowledged him on social media. Said Patrick continues to just know what it is that I like, because he's been in my messages for a while now about this series, and he was right. This is another great one. And Thomas Piety, I feel like this is the way that like a memoir's kind of story should be told. I feel like it's doing it very much like in that Sun Eater kind of way, where I really, really enjoy what's going on, and you see something where you get some inner reflection from the narrator as he's recounting the story. And it's done in just the right way, to where it never feels like, okay, well, you're spoiling the story for me, narrator, or you're being just a little too taking me out of the story by just kind of interrupting all the time. Never really does that. But I feel like Thomas Piety's, like his voice is just, it's just something I haven't encountered in fantasy very much, and it's really, really good. And again, I'll be very, very sad when I do finish this here pretty soon, but that is kind of the plan this week. But I know a lot of you are actually here to hear me talk about something else, guys. Yes, Discworld. I have begun about halfway through The Color of Magic. And kind of what I talked about there at the beginning is I posted this picture on Instagram, and damn near every comment is, "Oh, I can't believe you're starting with that one. Stop reading it right now. Read it in this order instead." Guys, you don't have to link me the chart. I've seen it. I have seen the chart. This was a well thought out plan. Deal is, a patron sent me 5 books. That's the 5 that I'm going to read. So anyway, I know a lot of people are they're worried that I'm going to read this one, not like it, which we'll talk about in a second, and then I'm just going to quit the series. It's not going to happen. It's not. I've committed to at least these 5. I think it's this one, Light Fantastic, Mort, Guards, and forget the 5th one. Anyway, he sent me 5 books. Said he thought it was the best place for me to start, and I'm gonna trust him there. As for this book, yeah, a lot of the things I've heard about it, very true. I wouldn't say I'm having a bad time, but I wouldn't say I'm having a great one. And I think a lot of it is just, I'm getting used to Terry Pratchett's writing style. Like, I like the humor, I like the dialogue. It's a very interesting world. It feels like it's hard for me to get into a flow because of the way the narrative is. It's very quick in how it changes perspectives. Like, 1 minute you'll be hanging out with Rincewind and Two Flower, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with the gods playing a D&D game, and then you're dealing with this random group of thieves, and then you're dealing with this patrician guy. It's like, can you stay put? Like, I like, death comes out of nowhere. I'm like, I just feel like there's so much going on that I know that when you join a new fantasy world, you've got to accept you're not going to understand everything at first. But I'm seeing, yeah, that's probably why everyone said probably not start with this one, because it's not a good representation of the series. I get it. From what a lot of people have told me, this was very much Sir Terry Pratchett's, his kind of his parody of more famous stories. And I guess I can understand that. There are some hitchhikers kind of things, like Rincewind selling the insurance. That's very something much like Douglas Adams would have done. No doubt that definitely could have been something in Hitchhiker's Guide. So I can see that comparison. I can see why people thought that I would like that. And I am, for the most part, with me, it really is just like, it's hard for me to get into the narrative because it changes so damn fast, and it changes like with the next line. It doesn't really set the stage for you to say, hey, yeah, we're switching angles. I'm like, wait a second, this guy was just hanging off of a cliff. Why am I dealing with these guys playing a D&D game now? I don't really understand. So to me, it's maybe some of the quirks I've got to get used to yet. I'm actually most interested in the stuff about the turtle. Those little interludes they have between these little parts here. I'm really actually most interested in that. But getting to know the world a little bit and things like that. I did say, okay, I'm going to kind of read this at the same time I'm reading ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤 so that don't look at it like this. I am about halfway through it. And no, it's not a very long book, and I'll finish it and ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤 this week. That's really the plan. But I just need people to kind of relax a little bit. I'm not going to quit if I don't like this book. Relax. But, with Dresden Files fans, it's always, oh, God, books 1 or 2 are so bad. Or Wheel of Time fans, oh, books 7 through 10 are so... Stop doing that to new readers. Let them read it the way they want to do it. So I've had a ton of other people say they started with The Color of Magic, and they would never take it back. They would like that they started that way. So, again, the decision has been made. So let's move forward. So I'm not saying that I feel insulted or gatekeepered by the Discworld fans, not at all, or the turtles, as I'm calling them. I don't say they didn't have an actual name. I called them Pratchett Heads at first, but I think I'm going with the Turtles. The Turtles sounds pretty cool, like a nice little 50s rock band, way before my time too, guys. So don't worry about it. But they're really good. They got some bangers. You gotta check them out if you haven't. Anyhow. That's my plans really with Discworld. That's what I'm going to be doing. Well, how about what am I going to read? I'm going to finish The Color of Magic, and then I'm going to finish up Priest of Crowns. And then the plan was I was going to be getting into the new ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤 book, because I've already kind of backed that off a month. I'm trying to do that impulsive thing you guys are talking about. I got sent an ARC, and it's something that was not even on my radar, but the last 3 weeks, I've had a ton of people drop me messages about it, saying they think this is going to be something I love. And the publisher did send me an ARC of The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. I had no idea what this was. It was a really cool cover, but I had no idea what it was. But it was like right when everyone was telling me about how great it was. I'm considering picking this up after I finish Priest of Crowns. It's one of those things where it's just, you guys have been telling me, read what you want to read, be impulsive, do whatever you want. And I know I have a schedule, and I know some people want to read along with me and stuff, but this just, I feel like a problem that I'm having, and I think maybe this is a problem with some of my reviews not having very much interest, is I'm reading stuff that everybody else has already read. But it's something like really, really new. Maybe I should be doing that more than I currently am. I think maybe that's be something, especially when it's a book 1 in a series and people are curious about it. So I'm debating picking this up as soon as I finish Priest of Crowns. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So nobody freak out, because I also have that Larry Correa book I want to do this month. But again, I want to make sure that I'm not feeling a slavish devotion to a schedule. If I'm not doing read-alongs anymore, so it's not anything that I feel like I have to do. And so I did want to be able to have a little TBR freedom and be able to do stuff like this. So I'm really considering that. But if you guys got any feedback from this, of course, Patrick has told me it was great. I'm really, really excited to maybe check this out starting as soon as I finish Priest of Crowns. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think, because I don't know. I'll drop a link to this down below and you can check it out. But it sounds really awesome. And it sounds like it's going to be something that I do like. And I want to thank Tor and James Logan for making sure that I did get a copy of it. And I might be reading it sooner rather than later. But that's really what I have planned for the next week. How about this week on the channel? Did a couple of fun little things. Got together with my good friend Brian from BellTube. We did a talk about nothing. I thank Brian for his availability on that one, because I just out of nowhere, like I think it was Sunday night, I was just like, hey, you free on Tuesday night to do a talk about nothing? Me and Brian talk a lot. We're both big sports fans, and obviously we read the same things. So we talk quite a bit. And so Brian and I are similar of age. We have similar life paths, and I felt like we had lots to talk about in that conversation. So you guys check that out if you did miss it. I always love doing a good talk about nothing. It is a break from the monotony sometimes when you get someone else on the channel to speak back with you. It is always a ton of fun. I want to thank all you guys who hung out with us and watched live. I always do appreciate that, because you guys can drive the conversation with some of the things that you do talk about in there. April wrap-up and the book of the month. You watch these weekly updates. I don't think my book of the month was any surprise, because Larry McMurtry continues to just be a wizard. I actually started watching the adaptation, the miniseries of Streets of Laredo. The funny thing about that is like for the first 10 minutes, I was like, I don't know if I can accept someone else besides Tommy Lee Jones as Captain Call. But you know what? After a little bit in hearing his delivery and the way his mannerisms, and I was like, I actually think James Garner might be more book accurate for calls. So, I feel like those things are always kind of subjective, but I'm actually impressed with it so far for being a TV movie. It's pretty spot on. They've done some things a little out of order. They've reduced a couple of characters, like Bolivar isn't actually in it, and they give some of his parts to Brookshire, and it actually works out somehow. We only watched part 1, it's 3 parts, and my wife is actually watching it before she reads it. So I was like, you sure you want to watch this before you read it? She's like, we watched Lonesome Dove before we read it. We still love it. I was like, great point. But yeah, Streets of Laredo, Book of the Month, had some interesting little findings there when I dug into some of my most popular content for the month. So I always enjoy doing the wrap-ups. Hope you guys are enjoying them as well. And I did a rapid review of Streets of Laredo, which was really just an excerpt from last week's weekly update. It's something I like to do just in case someone's looking for just my review. They don't want to say, oh, I happen to find this episode number 243 of your weekly update that had the review for the book I was looking for. So I like to actually, isolate those and put them out there if people are looking for my opinion on a book. And Streets of Laredo was a great one. How about some next week plans, guys? Got a couple of things on the docket here. I'll be doing my book haul, of course, so I like to get those out of the way the first or second week of each month. Got some really incredible stuff from some publishers that I want to show you guys, and that is actually going to be influencing some of the things I plan to read in June. So I am finding myself much more wiggle room, been being able to make changes to the TBR as we go forward. And one I kind of talked to you guys about recently with the success of the Fallout TV series and so much interest in Fallout, and someone had actually brought up and said it'd be really awesome if they wrote to like a series of novels of Fallout. And I talked about how I really got into the lore of Fallout when I played Fallout 3. There's so much back history to that world about how the Great War started and all that. It got me thinking, there's a lot of games I love that have great storylines and stuff. I was like, I wish they could be fleshed out even more, maybe in like a book series format. So usually I like to talk about, hey, these are book series I'd love to see adapted to television. Here's some video games that I think I would like to see adapted to book form, and that way they can take their time and tell a nice cohesive story through several volumes. So it's kind of an interesting little change of an idea of a topic, I guess you would say. Now, I don't really know where this idea came from. I just think about several games that have just like incredible lore and stuff. I just want to know more. I can't get enough of them. And I think if they would just make like really nice novel book series of them, it could be something really, really special. So I'll talk about some of those. It's not just going to be my favorite video games or anything like that, but ones I think that the storyline is heavy enough that they could use some nice exploratory nature in a long series of some sort. And that should be happening sometime this week. I got a couple of guest appearances. I actually triple booked this week, and I felt just terrible about it. I'm thinking I need to bring back a nice little handwritten planner or something to make sure I'm not doing this again. But my oldest is having his finale concert for the school year. He's in orchestra, and that's going to be on Tuesday night. At the same time, I also scheduled to go on 2 live streams. And I'm not Philip, guys. I can't be on 2 live streams at once. I don't know how he does it, but Philip somehow does it. Bibliotheory next Tuesday is the one that's actually going to be staying. That's going to be with him and Jonathan Cohen and Jimmy Nuts, the Fantasy Network. And people have wanted me and Jimmy to collaborate for years. Well, hey, there's your opportunity to see us talk about, we're going to be doing Eye of the World versus Way of Kings. I'm not exactly sure what the format that Biblio has put out there, but it should be interesting because, honestly, I read Eye of the World about 5 years ago, and I read Way of Kings about 6 or 7 years ago. So for me, at first, it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to try to knock off the rust here and see what I remember. But I'm not really sure what we're arguing for or against. But I think I have been put on team Eye of the World with Biblio, and then you got Jonathan and Jimmy that are going to be talking about Way of Kings. So I don't know, it'll be an interesting thing. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Biblio Theory, and you can check out that video live on Tuesday night. And I also had a plan with Words in Time. We were going to talk some 90s sci-fi and fantasy, and I wrote down in my planner, I wrote live stream. And I just bookmarked that date. And so when Biblio got in touch with me and said, hey, how was Tuesday? I said, oh, okay, yeah, that's what we'd already written down. I just got it confused. So that's totally on me. Words of Time, he was so cool. I messaged him about it. He was so cool. He said, hey, we can just move it to Wednesday or Thursday. It's not a problem. So as soon as we know about that, I'll let you guys know what time. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun all the way around. Getting to watch my kids. He's playing violin, so getting to see if if he's learned anything this year. Because you think about, I don't know if you guys want to know about this, but you tell your kids all the time, once you get involved with something in school, and they seem to pick one of the most expensive ones. That's how it does seem to work. But yeah, orchestra concert for him, and then I get to talk with several wonderful creators here this week, and I cannot wait to do it. And I'm always happy to be invited on other people's channels. Why? Because I don't have to edit anything, and that is the best. A couple of TV and movie talk things before I go, guys. We did have our family movie night, and we watched one I had never seen before. It was my oldest son's pick, and he picked How to Train Your Dragon. Now, I know it's a movie that's not some hidden gem or anything. I know it's very popular. I'd always heard about it. I remember getting it for him when he was very young, and obviously it imprinted on him, but I never really actually watched that one with him. And so we sat down and watched that together. Really good. And the thing was, I was telling him about halfway through, he's going through the lore and the history of all these different types of dragons and what they could do and stuff. And I was like, this is a lot like all those fantasy books I read, man. He's like, really? So maybe I'll make a fantasy fan out of him. Yeah, but yeah, what a great movie. Tons of heart. And he's just so excited for me to watch part 2 now, because he says part 2 is even better. But yeah, I do enjoy. I think that that was DreamWorks, right? Pixar gets all the press, but DreamWorks is pretty solid all the way around. They always usually are very enjoyable. And I think that's having a completed trilogy. I don't know. They might be making a part 4 now that I say that. Who knows? But excited to watch part 2, because part 1, like I said, really great. Had some of that dad shit in it that I do love. And yeah, just a great coming of age story and a kind of a great fantasy story all the way around. So hey, Vikings, dragons, what's not to like, right, guys? So I think that's one that's good for the family. But for those epic fantasy readers, you're going to find a lot of familiar themes that you do love in that. So if you're like me and one of the last people to watch this 15-year-old animated movie, I think, hey, give it a shot. If you haven't, watch it with the whole family. I think it was quite enjoyable. And I'll finish this by saying that me and my oldest kind of got into an argument about this, because he's like, dude, they're making a Legend of Zelda movie. Have you heard? I'm like, yeah, I heard. I'll believe it when I see it. He didn't understand what I mean. He's like, you aren't excited? I was like, do you know how many times I've heard they're making a Zelda movie? They're making an animated Zelda movie. They're making a Zelda Netflix series. I've heard this so many times over the years. And this one's supposed to be redirected by Wes Ball. He did Maze Runner, which I loved. So do I want to get excited? Maybe. But you got to think about the track record for video game adaptations. To every good Fallout, there's a really, really bad Mario Brothers. There's something really, really awful that you can think of as well. Video game adaptations haven't quite really turned the corner yet. It feels like it's getting to that point where it's like superhero movies were when Batman Begins came out, where it was like, hey, if we take this content rather seriously, you see that we might actually be able to do something, and boom, it was a superhero movie boom. So is that going to happen with video games? I don't know, because it only takes like one or two to really, really just throw it backwards, and especially when you're also dealing with the fantasy genre, which is very hard to nail. Everything's trying so hard to be Game of Thrones, they're just taking away the identity of the thing that they're trying to adapt. Now with this, I don't think they'll try to make it a Game of Thrones, but they are talking about making it very grounded, making it like I don't know, some kind of action movie. I have no idea. I read the interview and I was just like, I mean, that sounds cool and all. It doesn't sound like Zelda. With me, it's like, look what Fallout just did. Why were they so successful? Because they went for it. They were never, ever embarrassed to say, yeah, we're adapted after a video game series. They had all those Easter eggs in there for fans. They wrote a nice, compelling story for everyone that felt like it could take place within that universe. So Nintendo's been so overprotective of their properties. I can't imagine they'll let this come out and it'll be basically Zelda in name only. I don't know. Sometimes when these directors or these showrunners or these creators talk, and it's just like, so you're saying you want to remove everything that's made it what it is. That's what is always the big red flag, and that's kind of my feeling with this one. I want to believe they could be good. I think that Zelda would be best served to be an animated movie. I really did. I really thought after the Mario Brothers movie that Illumination was going to jump all over that and do Zelda and Metroid. I thought that's really what they were going to do, but I think they'll probably just speedrun another Mario movie. But yeah, I mean, that's my favorite franchise in gaming. I would love to have a great Zelda movie, but I want it to feel like Zelda. And I don't think that's asking for too much. Look at some of these great adaptations we've gotten this year. Dune, Shogun, stuff that really respected the source material. Now, Zelda has dozens and dozens of games that tell the same story in different ways every time. So I feel like you have wiggle room. You don't have to be shot for shot with a game, but it'd be nice if it felt like it was something that took place in that same world. Because if I have to hear the word grounded and gritty real one more time, tables flipped. But guys, that's where I am at. That has been my week. It's been an interesting week. Again, trying to venture the weather, all kinds of stuff. Had to take my kid to the dentist for the first time. It was for a major operation for the first time. That'll make you feel like a real great parent when when you're a preteen kid has to have a root canal. I didn't have to have my first root canal until I was in my 20s. But, hey, things can happen. We can only control what we can control, right? So, guys, what was your week like? What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you playing? Drop in the comments and let me know, and I will talk to you there.